Good evening, attendees of the H818 online conference hosted by the Open University in UK. This is a very important conference, and broadly it is looking at open education. Now, the profile picture that you are seeing depicts who I am, and on your left there is a profile which is stipulating what I've done. This is just part of what I've done. Yeah, so simply I am a Maode Commonwealth scholar. I am trained in primary teaching and secondary. I am a teacher educator. Yeah, so I've been teaching for 16 years now. I've also taken part in TESA MOOCs, such as making teacher education relevant in the 21st century Africa. And I've also taken part in the MOOC organized by Commonwealth of Learning, Understanding Development Impact. And I've also done a training in cybersecurity training for teachers, one. And finally, I would say I'm also a TESA ambassador Zambia since 2017. But I've been using TESA OER since 2009. Now, my project details, one, the format is a research paper, meaning that I did a research and I have a research paper ready with me. And the theme for this particular project is innovation. You are aware innovation in this era is becoming the story of the day, especially with the coming of COVID-19. So let's see how it goes. My project, being a Commonwealth scholar, I felt it was going to be very, very important and prudent to mention that I captured the development area of Commonwealth Scholarship Commission, which is being addressed, and which is access, inclusion, and opportunities. And this is very important, and it's being addressed by my project. What is the topic? The topic that I focused on is supporting teacher continuing professional growth through MOOCs and OER. Participants' experiences and users' stories were some of the issues or some of the items that I concentrated on. I wanted to interact with those people that have taken part in MOOCs and those that have been using OER. What is their story? Is there any change in their pedagogy or their classroom practice? Yeah, so with me on my left, I have a picture which is depicting a traditional CPD, or what we may call school-based continuing professional development meeting. In the primary schools, they call it teacher group meeting. Then in between there, there is another picture depicting myself holding a TESA OER library, or disc, so to say. So this disc is containing teaching and learning materials, and indeed the key resources that can help a teacher to plan lessons, plan how to deliver a lesson, and other important key notes or to do with the content on how best the teacher can be helped to develop and improve learning outcomes of learners. Then on the other side is there's a picture depicting a teacher. This teacher is actually engaged with a massive open online course, which we are referring to as MOOCs. So you can see that MOOCs are quite engaging because they can engage an individual as opposed to a teacher group, a traditional teacher group meeting, which requires a bigger number of people to be present. But this particular type of CPD can be done by an individual. It can be done by two people. It can be done by a group of people. It can be done by a massive, meaning a lot of people can be engaged, but possibly maybe being facilitated by one individual, and these people can be in different places, okay, but still being handled by one particular teacher or teacher educator. Okay, so the key question that guided this particular project is, to what extent do MOOCs and OER support teacher continuing professional growth? So the key issue was how I wanted to find out how best can we support teacher professional growth, especially in this fragile and calamity setting of COVID-19. So that becomes my motivation to try to find out more, to try to investigate more on how best this can be done, what could be the barriers, what is it that is hindering people or hindering teachers to continue learning using this particular new innovation that is at play. Okay. This project is justified by the report which was done, or the research which was done by Ferguson and Sharples, 2014. Sharples and Ferguson conducted their research and delivered a report. And in their findings, it indicated that MOOCs have a great potential or great economic benefits, so to say, because a huge number of teachers can be engaged or can be taught. They can access teaching and learning materials, and they can be taught, or they can learn, or they can be, the learning itself can be facilitated by few trained educators. So in other words, this kind of CPD or this kind of learning or this kind of teaching requires few trained educators. Of course, others may feel like, well, if few educators are needed, then are we going to get a job? Yes, you will. You can get a job. You still get a job, because technology cannot replace the human resource. The human resource is needed in any technology, because the human resource will have to deal with troubleshooting of technological issues. You know, technology can just sort out on its own. No, it will require human resource. So even if few trained educators are needed to facilitate learning, human resource is still needed in this particular area. So there's no need for you to worry about the coming of MOOCs. Now, open education resources, what are they? These are simply teaching, learning, and research materials in any media. In other words, in any other form. It may be digital or otherwise, that reside in the public domain or have been released under an open license that permits no-cost access, use, adaptation, and redistribution by others with no or indeed limited restrictions. And this is as captured by UNESCO Paris OER Declaration of 2012. So you can see that MOOCs and OER have got more advantages as opposed to the disadvantages. Okay, so the advantages outweigh the disadvantages in this case. So it's something that we need to think about as teacher educators. Now, what is the challenge? There are challenges that are hindering the teachers to take part in MOOCs. There could be challenges relating to limited ICT knowledge and skills among teachers and teacher educators. There could be challenges to do with lack of open educational resources institutional policy. There could be challenges to do with OER awareness. the OER are there, but people are using them, but they don't know whether they are using OER or not. So open educational resources awareness is limited among teacher educators and teachers, in other words. And also, as already pointed out, some teachers and teacher educators, when they look at MOOCs, these MOOCs have created fear in them that they may lose the job. Okay. There is also an aspect of, or another important challenge of technology divide. Teachers may lack or are lacking the devices that they can use, things like smartphones. They don't have laptops, they don't have tablets. These are the tools that may be required that can help them to access this kind of learning in this new era of which is composed of digital residents and visitors. So lack of technology is limiting the use or participation of teachers in massive open educational courses. Now, the goal of this project, which started in 2020, somewhere around August, the project goal that I had in mind and still in mind, this project I want to try to create of some kind of awareness in those teacher educators and the teachers that may have no knowledge or know-how about MOOCs. And also I want to also to increase awareness among those that already know about MOOCs on the OER. I want them to maybe to also enhance their knowledge in these innovative pedagogies and ways of conducting and supporting teachers continuing professional growth in any setting. As I have already mentioned, we are now in the COVID-19 era, where teachers are unable to meet to conduct teacher group meetings or school-based continuing professional development meetings. Apart from that, I want also to expand my network with the networked practitioners around the world. So who are the targets in the project? The target are teacher educators and teachers, and indeed researchers, professors, and anybody who is involved in the teaching and learning processes, including our stakeholders that are involved in education. The methodology. This study covered 12 countries, and these countries include Ghana, United Kingdom, Canada, Nigeria, Kenya, Ivory Coast, Tanzania, Mauritius, Cameroon, South Africa, Uganda, and Zambia. In these countries, I have some kind what we may call networks, or people I know, people that I work with, and also those people that I normally work with in these programs that are to do with online resources. They also have their own networks in their countries, which also supported my project. So I distributed over 200 links. This is the same link which was distributed to over 200 respondents. And out of these, 38 responded to the questionnaire. And some of them left the questionnaire uncompleted. Of course, there could be reasons. Others, they didn't know how to open the link. Others, maybe because of internet connectivity issues. Yeah, others, maybe because of busy schedules. Maybe because of caring responsibilities. Okay. But, however, we got the information that we needed, and this is the information that we are communicating. So, a mixed methods approach was used to collect data, and this data collection approach included a one-to-one and structured interviews or survey for academics. In this case, academics, I'm referring to researchers, tutors, instructors, teachers, teacher educators, The list goes on and on and on. Okay. Now, I used purposive sampling to select the best respondents. Why purposive sampling? Because not everyone might have responded accordingly to the questions, because the questions are education oriented. So if I was to give this particular questionnaire to somebody who is doing medicine or somebody who is doing law, might have not responded according to what I wanted to come out from the project. So I use purposive sampling because I wanted to find the best respondents of this questionnaire for this project. So data sets were obtained, and I compiled the data and processed it, and indeed I analyzed the data using the automated Google form, and also I used Microsoft Excel to analyze my data. Now, what were the findings? A number of interesting findings came up. For example, one of the very important interesting key finding is the usefulness of open educational resources. Okay, so 91% of the respondents indicated that open educational resources are useful, and 9%, well, they said these OER or these open educational resources are not useful, and this is what they believe. Okay. In terms of helpfulness of the massive open educational courses, MOOCs in short, 97% of the respondents indicated that MOOCs are very useful in the teacher professional growth, and 3% only indicated that MOOCs are not helpful in teacher professional growth. Yeah, so those that are interviewed for TESA OER, they also indicated the importance of OER in their classroom practice. Okay, so as you can, if you were around, if you have your computer, you would have seen the picture of learners who are actually portraying in a classroom situation. They are dramatizing, helping other people in social studies. And this is information, the teacher got information from the TESA OER to prepare a lesson which was delivered in the classroom, and the children were able to act accordingly because the lesson was well planned and the teacher was able to facilitate learning. So in this case, learners were at the center of learning. And this is what we want learners to be at the center of learning and not considering learners as passengers in the bus. Also, massive open online courses, or MOOCs in short, and open educational resources have also great potential, and this is attested by the respondents, because 94% of the respondents strongly agree that participation in MOOCs and OER for learning and teaching leads to improved learning performance. Whereas 3% disagree, and another 3% left the question blank, meaning either they were not sure or maybe they didn't know what to do. Okay. In terms of OER policy, participants were asked whether in their institution they have an OER policy, an open educational resources policy. This is a policy that really allows teachers or teacher educators to use these resources legally. So, from the findings, it clearly indicates that 71% of the respondents indicated that in their institutions they didn't have this policy, whereas 20% of the respondents indicated that they had the policy in their institution, whereas 9% left the questionnaire blank. When you compare 20% and 71%, it is very clear in this research that a number of learning institutions do not have this policy. Okay, now what can we do? That's the question we need to answer. What can we do to have this policy in place? Are policymakers supporting the idea that this policy be put in place? Do they see the value of involving teachers in massive open online courses? Do they see the value of open educational resources? Do they see any improvement in learning quality or learning outcomes of learners? So these are the issues that we need to be brainstorming around as we discuss in various forums. In conclusion, generally the study reviews the potential for open educational resources and massive open online courses to support continuing professional growth of teachers and teacher educators. But it also discloses a lack of institutional policies in place which can restrict use. So once we have the policy, it may legalize the use of OER or massive open online courses in their learning institutions or in schools. Recommendations. Massive open online courses and open educational resources can be considered as new opportunities providers for innovation at all levels of education that will allow institutions and academics to explore new online learning models and innovative practices in teaching and learning. So this is very, very important to consider. In the fragile environment, in the calamity settings of 2019 coronavirus, we need to innovate. We need to have a paradigm shift. In this case, we want to move from an old way of doing business, educational business, an old way of doing teacher group meetings, an old way of doing school-based continuing professional development meetings. Under COVID-19, teachers have got no opportunity to conduct teacher group meetings because they are obeying the instructions or guidelines given by health experts in order to curb the spread of COVID-19. So we cannot wait until COVID-19 goes, and that's the time we are going to resume teacher group meetings or we resume CPDs. So MOOCs is an alternative. Teachers can continue learning independently, as a group, or indeed in large numbers. And this learning can take place anywhere, anytime. Okay? Whether in the kitchen, whether in the bathroom, whether on the move, whether in the sitting room, whether in the bedroom, in the classroom, learning can still take place. So this is a very good opportunity for us all, teacher educators, and indeed teachers, researchers. We need to continue in this field to explore further so that information is given to the teachers, is given to the parents, is given to key stakeholders in the education system so that massive open educational courses and open educational resources are used to the fullest. The MOOCs are implemented to the fullest. And this is what the direction that we need to take. Okay. So, a lack of institutional policy is indeed limiting the use of open educational resources. So, putting in place policies will help to encourage educators and teachers to adopt massive open online courses as a modern way of enabling continuing professional growth, which we refer to as CPDs or teacher group meetings. Well, this is the end of my presentation. Please, you are free to send me questions either via my WhatsApp or via my direct calls or direct text messages. So you can do that using my 0955 40 30 26. That's for WhatsApp. or 0979 355 442 for direct calls, or 0968 71 44 31 for also direct calls. Please feel free, or you can email me to zulucharleswilliam@gmail.com. I thank you so much for listening and for taking your time to ask questions. Thank you.